Valorant released the newest agent ISO to the game. The duel is coming in from China, is gonna be insanely fun to play in ranked. He might not be the most powerful one for pro play, but he is gonna be so fun when you're gonna play just the game for yourself. So I thought to myself, why not to record a video for you guys to, let's say, explain and teach you a little bit about his utility. So this short guide, I hope you guys are gonna enjoy it. Let's just jump straight into the game. Alright, let's start with the utility pieces. I'm gonna talk about every single one of them, but I'm gonna also talk about what to buy on pistol rounds, but in a moment. So first, we're gonna talk about this debuff that is in the form of like a paranoia-like grenade. As you can see, it goes pretty fast forward. Going forward and backwards doesn't affect the speed of it, so that doesn't change, right? And what it makes the opponents take double damage. It affects every single player that is in the range of it, so it makes almost all of the guns lethal. So it's great to combine it with the wall that we're gonna explain a little bit later on, right? But this piece of utility goes through walls as well, so it's very easy to combo for yourself, but also for your teammates, because you have a lot of synergies. Those synergies can be achieved with any agent that has instant damage, right? So, for example, we can go and combine it with the aftershock. 80 damage becomes 160, so you can clear a corner very fast, right? Brimstone ult damage now is killing a person below 1 second. Then we have instant damage coming in from Raze, of course, which is 55 damage on the paint shells. But when you combine that with the utility from ISO that goes through the wall, you can just literally catch someone off guard and deal 110 damage with the first explosion, which is almost impossible to dodge, right? So when you go, for example, into bind hookah, you can use it like a paranoia, just exactly the same like Omen does, but then the grenade becomes just quite literally a death trap for your opponents, right? So you always want to use that with an instant damage. Sova shock darts and the Sova ultimate deals 160 damage with it. That's fantastic. And those are the main agents that you probably want to play with when you play ISO. So if you have a duo that you're gonna play with, try to make sure that he plays an agent that will take benefit of your key piece of utility that makes your opponents weaker to damage, right? So that's incredibly massive. And now remember, when you combine those two pieces of utility like this, you're able to just deal incredibly massive damage with close range weapons, right? So this is another key piece of utility that combos well with your wall, that is also instrumental to how this agent works. I think that this grenade that allows you to debuff your opponents is incredibly powerful. It's this most powerful item in his kit, and it will most likely get nerfed in the future to just 1. That's my, let's say, assumption, but we'll see. So remember, use it through walls, use it for close range weapons as well to make sure that your low buys are incredibly powerful. Like, think about it this way, a stinger just melts people when they are debuffed. Just pay attention how fast it's gonna be. This is 150 damage. It's incredibly powerful. So all of your lower buys, you want to always have 2 of your undercuts that you want to use to make sure that your close range weapons like a stinger, like a bucky, like a ghost even, or a frenzy are incredibly powerful, right? This is the first time we can apply a debuff to our opponents on our will. This is not something that we're able to do in the past because it's always like a setup with a snakebite or something, but this time it just goes through a wall and that's it. It's incredibly powerful. Also remember that the range of the undercut is 30 meters, so that's quite a lot. And it actually matches to the distance that is being done with the contingency. It's exactly 30 meters as well. So you know that if you use it the same way, right, they're gonna reach the same point. But remember that undercut is actually way faster than the contingency. But now, how to use contingency? Because all of this combines together, right, which is very awesome. So one first thing that you need to remember when you play ISO, when you're gonna use the wall, you cannot be shot through it, but the utility pieces can go through it, right? So you can be stunned, you can be mollied, you can be flashed through it as well, but you can also flash through it yourself with your teammates, right? So keep that in mind. But when you do it, you cannot stop it. right? It's very important because if you could stop it, you would actually be able to make like a, let's say I'm holding a corner like this and then I stop the wall over here and I cannot be killed essentially with bullets, right? So that would be a little bit awkward. So now the wall goes forward. The overall distance is 30 meters. It takes 5 seconds to reach there, right? So you have 5 seconds to take this space. And this is very important because the wall is a little bit faster than you're walking with rifles, right? But remember that this is something that is gonna disappear fast. So you need to be decisive. You need to be confident that you're gonna take this space, and you can benefit from having close range weapons. So depending on what you're gonna do in the beginning of the round, think about it this way. Can I go, for example, into showers on bind and abuse a stinger there, right? Combining this with your undercut contract, right? So this one here that makes the debuff on double damage, you can literally make such an incredible tool to take space anywhere on the map. There's also one really important thing that you need to remember about contingency. When you're using it, it follows the map, like the way it's being built, but only from the middle of the wall. So pay attention how I'm gonna be using the contingency. Stopping fire. The middle of the wall goes on the ramp, so it travels forward and goes on the top of it. But if I aim with the middle of the contingency a little bit to the left, it's not gonna follow this ramp. See? It goes, the middle of the contingency went into this wall instead of the ramp, so it didn't change the level. It's very important to remember because you can easily mess it up. For example, if we're going towards ramp here and I want to use the contingency from here, I want to aim at the ramp, not at the wall, right? So this is the ramp, this is the wall. If I do it on the wall, when the contingency we're gonna go forward, it's not gonna cover everything. But if I aim at the ramp, look at now. Stopping fire. And I can go forward with the contingency to check all of the angles. Now, remember, you can't cover every single angle when you're playing alone as ISO, right? So you need a little bit of support. When I'm clearing, for example, the ramp, I need someone to either flash the right side over here or use a smoke over here to make sure that I cannot be killed while going forward to ramp. What I can also do is do this, right? We want to learn exactly where the ramp is, right? And I can do this, for example. Making cover, breaking them. So now I can go forward with checking the ramp and also debuffing the players on the right side. It's very important to be consistent in the way you want to be doing it and the movement, so you get covered by the contingency every time. But you're able to gain a lot of space, but you need to have this ingrained in your memory. You need to know exactly what you want to do before you do it, because the timing is very tight. You have literally 5 seconds to get where you want to be. Stopping fire. Destabilizing. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let's see next step. Now let's talk about the ultimate. The ultimate takes you into a different dimension. So what happens is when you get an opponent into the ultimate, you spawn with 2 barriers, he spawns with 1 barrier, and then you fight. You have 15 seconds. If you don't kill your opponent or your opponent doesn't kill you in the 15 seconds, you both die. You also get a free double tap, which is the ball that you can shoot and get the shield when you ultimate. Pay attention, right? I'm ulting. I didn't activate my double tap signature ability, but it is activated here in the ult, right? So if I kill my opponent, I have the chance to get the shield while going out. Few things that you need to remember when using the ultimate. When you use the ultimate and you catch someone, you TP out from the map, but your opponents will know where you're standing, because it kind of looks like the Phoenix ultimate, right? So it's important to understand what you can achieve with it, because your teammates essentially can go forward with your ultimate because they know that the player that got caught on sight, even if he wins against you in the ultimate and you will lose the ISO ult, he's gonna spawn exactly on that point where he was, so he can get easily traded. When you go into the ultimate, you also spawn with full shield and health, so does your opponent. But when you TP back, you're gonna go back to the exact same amount of HP that you had before using the ultimate. Another very interesting thing about the ultimate is that it suppresses all the utility. So it's a great counter towards character like Viper. If you hit a Viper in the Viper's pit, she's gonna relieve the space that she was occupying before, and that will cancel the Viper ultimate. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and since the range of it is 50 meters,
no distraction,
it's pretty easy to hit, right? It's not as big as, let's say, Breach ult,
no
right? But it does cover a lot of space, so it's kinda easy to hit a Viper. You need to also remember about players like Raze, Jet, Neon. All of their ultimates are gonna be turned off. You can also isolate players that have an operator or a judge, depending on how many informations you have. So when you play in ranked, remember to ask your initiator to get info on a specific player that you want to target, right, and isolate into your ult. But also what is very important when you're in the ult, and this is gonna be even more important, there's a psychological aspect to it. So I'm right-handed. Majority of the player base is right-handed. So when people are right-handed, when they TP into this, they go to the right side, like this. But the thing is, if you go in pick a corner, it's always easier to flick to the left than flick to the right. You know, it's always easy to flick to the left, but it's tougher to flick to the right. So you want to make your opponent flick to the right. Because of that, when you go into the ultimate, I think it's gonna be much easier if you go to the left, because your opponent now most likely needs to flick to his right, which will make it a little bit more awkward to him. So yeah, I mean, the ultimate can be a very powerful initiation tool, and remember that you disappear from the map, right? So you cannot push forward and you will lose a little bit of like the information, so what is happening on the map. So when you ult on defense as well, you don't want to use it when you're on site, right? Because if you're being executed upon, you want to be in safety. For example, if you're playing on bind, you don't want to be on site on B, but you want to be in elbow, for example. So when there are people going onto site, you ult in that moment when you're safe in elbow when you go back after winning the ult. Another thing, very important, if you ult a person that is planting the spike or has the spike, this spike is gonna get dropped. So when you have the ult activated, ready, and you hear that someone is planting the spike, you can use that to stop him from planting, which can buy several seconds from the timer and maybe win the round because of that as well. So remember that, keep that in mind. It's a great tool to just make sure that it will mess up your opponent's plans for 15 seconds maximum, 15 maximum, right? But typically fights are lasting around like 6, maybe 5 seconds. So remember that as well. And one more thing, remember you cannot use your own utilities, so no debuff in the ult. It's a straight 50-50 fight with the weapons that you have equipped, but no utility. Alright, and last but not least, the signature ability, which is the double tap. When you activate it, you get the timer. When you kill a player, you get a small blue ball that if you hit it, you get immunity for 1 source of damage. Unfortunately, it doesn't activate on the bots, I cannot show it to you, but you can literally just cancel damage from 1 classic bullet, 1 operator bullet, full Raze ult, or the first explosion of a Raze grenade, but it doesn't do anything more against like more bullets coming your way. So always pay attention to that. My advice when it comes to playing ISO is actually not paying too much attention to the double tap. It's a cool ability, but it's not something that defines the agent, and you should be more focused on using your other abilities like the contingency, like the undercut, because those are the ones that are gonna be having the major impact. And double tap is distracting. When you are holding an angle, remember, when you're on defense and when you're holding an angle and you get a kill, during the time when you want to shoot the blue ball to get the shield, someone else can peek you and trade the opponent. So don't go for the balls, for the shields immediately after you get a kill, specifically on defense. On attack, it should be easier because you should be able to isolate some angles. But that's something that you should focus on defense, to not always flick. So be a little bit patient when it comes to that, to understand if an opponent is gonna swing you and is gonna trade the opponent that you just killed. It's not as powerful as the dismiss from Reyna, which you just use and you go back and you cannot be traded, right? And also very important, remember that you get one for free every round and the other one costs 150 credits. And in most cases, you might actually not be able to use even more than one. So sometimes it's even better to not buy the second one if you want to build up the economy, because it's gonna save you 150 credits, right? So specifically important for pistol rounds. But one more thing to remember about the double tap ability is that you cannot have more than one shield at the same time. What it does though, if you get another shield during the time when the first one was active, it resets the timer. So sometimes it's worth to shoot another shield and use another piece of your double tap just to get the refresh on the timer of the shield. And when you TP out from the ultimate, by the way, you save that shield that you got from the free double tap in the ult. Remember, the ult, when you get the double tap activated, is for free. It doesn't use you the one that you have equipped. Very important to understand. Now, when it comes to the pistol rounds, I think there are gonna be several ways of doing the buys on the pistol round, but I think majority of them is gonna be actually 2 undercuts, because there are 200 credits each, and just light shields. So it's gonna be light shields, 2 undercuts, and 1 double tap because it's your signature. Contingency is 250 credits, so what you can also do is contingency, undercuts, and double taps. And you have 800 credits spent on the full utility and, well, nothing else, because you're gonna have a classic. But you're able to get the shields, you have the ability to create space with the wall, but I think in ranked the most powerful will be the 2 undercuts and shields with one standard double tap, because the undercuts are making your classic absolutely deadly. Remember, most people on pistol rounds are buying a weapon that don't play with shields, and that means that 2 body shots from a classic will deal 104 damage, right? So when you use the undercut to debuff someone like this, right, and you're gonna just do double body shots, that's gonna be enough for him to be dead. That's it. So you're able to just go debuff, 1 right click, and a person in pistol round is just gone with body taps, not with a headshot. It makes classic incredibly potent and powerful weapon, and the smaller the map is, the more the undercut value you will get. So I think 2 undercuts on rounds like on maps like Split, Ascent, Haven, Bind are gonna be amazing. On maps like Breeze, probably not so much because it's much bigger, right? Lotus to some degree, I think, depending on where, but on Lotus, when you play on A as a defender, you can combo that with the raise grenade now to very infuriating effect. So keep that in mind when you play with a raise. You can now deal much more damage in that area. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. We're gonna go more in depth in ISO's strategy and potential plays in the future when I'll be playing him more during normal ranked games. See you guys next time. Remember to subscribe to DRX VS and leave a like and comment. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. Can be in Korean. I will translate it and answer it as well. Bye bye.